Have you ever witnessed an entire medical family, doctors, surgeons, hospital directors, abandon their dying mother because she couldn't boost their careers anymore? That's exactly what I lived through 3 months ago. While Mom lay dying in Seattle Presbyterian, my brother Marcus was performing his 200th surgery just 3 floors up. My sister Victoria was in a board meeting 2 blocks away. 47 family members, all healthcare professionals, and not one could spare an hour for the woman who built their empire. They didn't even send flowers, just silence, as if she'd already been erased from the family legacy. But here's what they didn't know. Mom had been planning for this moment for 15 years. The letter the nurse handed me as Mom took her last breath didn't just contain her final words. It contained the keys to a $340 million medical empire they thought they controlled. Hi, I'm Alana Hodges, 34 years old, and today I'm sharing how my dying mother's secret letter turned me from the family failure into their worst nightmare. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you are watching from. The Hodges name carries weight in Seattle's medical community. For 3 generations, we've produced surgeons, hospital administrators, and medical researchers. My grandfather founded Hodges Medical Group in 1954, turning it from a single clinic into what's now a $340 million healthcare empire with 12 facilities across Washington state. My brother Marcus, at 42, was the crown jewel, a cardiac surgeon who performed over 200 surgeries annually at Seattle Presbyterian. The walls of our family home were covered with his accolades: top 40 under 40, Surgeon of the Year, photos with senators and governors. Every family gathering started with someone asking about his latest life-saving procedure. My sister Victoria, 38, ran the largest private hospital in Seattle with the efficiency of a military general. She'd turned a failing facility profitable within 18 months, and the board treated her like she walked on water. At family dinners, she'd casually mention her lunch with the mayor or her upcoming Harvard Medical School guest lecture. Then there was me, the Wharton MBA who chose strategy consulting over stethoscopes, the one who built algorithms instead of operating rooms. In my family's eyes, my position as strategic director at a Fortune 500 tech company meant nothing. Anyone can work with computers, Marcus would say, but can you hold a human heart in your hands? The irony? While they were saving lives one at a time, I was designing healthcare AI systems that could diagnose rare diseases across millions of patients. But in the Hodges family, if you didn't wear a white coat, you might as well be invisible. The question that haunted me: why did Mom spend her final moments with the family failure instead of her celebrated children? Christmas 2023 showed me exactly where I stood in the family hierarchy. The annual Hodges holiday party at Marcus's Bellevue mansion was our family's version of a medical conference. 47 relatives, all healthcare professionals, gathering to compare achievements over champagne and surgical war stories. When I arrived, the seating assignments told me everything. Marcus had placed me at the children's table, literally. I sat between my 8-year-old nephew and my 10-year-old cousin, using a paper plate while the adults dined on china 20 feet away. At least the kids might have a future in medicine, Marcus announced during his toast, gesturing toward the children's table. Unlike some people who waste their potential on, what is it you do again, Alana? Instagram strategies? The room erupted in laughter, 47 voices joining in perfect harmony, their amusement echoing off the vaulted ceilings. Victoria added, "Remember when Alana wanted to be a doctor? Thank God she figured out her limitations early." I smiled and nodded, playing the role they'd assigned me. What they didn't know was that 3 hours earlier, I'd signed a $500,000 consulting contract with Tech Venture Partners to architect their healthcare division's IPO strategy. My bonus alone was more than Victoria's annual salary, but I kept quiet. In my family, money from tech was fake money, not earned through real work. Uncle Robert, a semi-retired anesthesiologist, patted my head like I was one of the children. "Don't worry, dear. Not everyone can handle the pressure of real responsibility." I spent the rest of the evening helping my young tablemates with their desserts, listening to Marcus regale the adults with the story of his 200th surgery, wondering if Mom noticed how her children treated each other. 5 years. That's how long I'd been the Hodges Medical Group's unpaid IT consultant, foolishly believing that contributing my expertise would earn me a place at the family table. When their patient management system crashed in 2019, who did Marcus call at 2 a.m.? Me. I spent 70 hours rebuilding their entire digital infrastructure, implementing security protocols that prevented a ransomware attack that hit 3 other Seattle hospitals. The other hospitals lost millions. Hodges Medical Group didn't lose a cent. When Victoria needed to modernize her hospital's diagnostic systems, I designed an AI-assisted triage protocol that reduced wait times by 40% and increased diagnostic accuracy by 23%. The implementation saved 18 lives in its first month alone. Documented, measurable lives saved through technology I created. 2,000 hours of work over 5 years. 0 mentions in the annual reports. 0 acknowledgments at board meetings. When the Seattle Times praised Hodges Medical Group's innovative digital transformation, Victoria told the reporter, "We hired the best consultants money could buy." She'd never paid me $1. "It's family helping family," Marcus would say whenever I submitted an invoice. "You wouldn't charge your own blood, would you? Besides, consider it your contribution to real medicine." The equation was simple: 2,000 hours, millions in saved revenue, 0 recognition. That was my value in the Hodges family ledger. The email arrived a week before Mom died. "Alana, we need to talk about your future. Come alone. Don't tell your siblings." It was the last message she ever sent me, and even now, sitting in Morrison and Associates' waiting room 3 months later, I could feel my phone burning with its weight. Hodges Medical Group wasn't just a family business. It was a $340 million empire that controlled 12 facilities, employed 3,000 people, and held contracts with every major insurer in the Pacific Northwest. And Marcus was about to destroy it all. The merger documents with Sinopharm International had been circulating quietly among board members. Marcus thought he was being discreet, but I'd seen the terms during one of my unpaid consulting sessions. They were offering $180 million for a 51% stake, barely half of what the company was worth. The catch? Marcus would receive a $50 million facilitation fee, while our mother's vision of community-focused healthcare would be dissolved into a profit-maximizing machine. 70 years of legacy, built by my grandparents' calloused hands and my mother's brilliant mind, about to be sold for Marcus's golden parachute. The 2 free clinics Mom had personally funded would close within 6 months. The charity ward she'd insisted on maintaining would be converted to luxury suites. Everything Eleanor Hodges had built would be gutted for quarterly earnings. If I stayed silent, I'd lose more than money. I'd lose the last piece of my mother that remained in this world. Her belief that medicine should serve everyone, not just those who could afford it. But speaking up meant war. Marcus controlled the board through charm and intimidation. Victoria commanded loyalty through fear. They had 47 family members who'd choose their side without question. I had a laptop, a strategic mind, and whatever Mom had hidden in that safety deposit box at Chase Private Banking. The stakes were clear: 340 million, 3,000 jobs, Mom's legacy, and my last chance to prove I belonged in this family, not as the overlooked tech sister, but as a true Hodges heir. Mom's letter was written on her personal stationery, the expensive cream paper she'd used for important occasions. Her handwriting, usually so elegant, showed the tremor of her final days. "My dearest Alana, you're reading this because I'm gone, and you're probably sitting alone while your siblings divide what they think I've left behind. They see stethoscopes and surgical suites. I see strategy and systems. They saved hundreds. You'll save millions. For 15 years, I've watched you build empires in Silicon Valley, while your siblings built their egos in operating rooms. Every rejected family dinner invitation, every dismissed achievement, every Christmas at the children's table, I saw it all. And I prepared. The key enclosed opens box 447 at Chase Private Banking, downtown branch. Inside, you'll find documents that will change everything. The 5 names below are the only people you can trust. 1. James Morrison, estate attorney. 2. David Campbell, Tech Venture Partners CEO. 3. Margaret Chen, Chase Private Wealth Advisor. 4. Dr. Samuel Roberts, Independent Board Member. 5. Patricia Williams, Securities and Exchange Commission. Your siblings don't know about the $12 million trust fund I established in 2009, or the 35% of Hodges Medical Group I've held in your name through a blind trust. They've been making decisions thinking Marcus's 20% gave him control. They're wrong. Don't reveal this until the shareholders' meeting. Let them show their true colors publicly. When the moment comes, you'll know. Remember, they worship at the altar of traditional medicine. Make them kneel in their own church. All my love, Mom. The letter felt like she was speaking from beyond, her strategic mind still 3 moves ahead. Even in death, Eleanor Hodges was playing chess while her children played checkers. If you've ever felt like your family doesn't understand or value what you do, type "I relate" in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the dramatic confrontation that's about to unfold. This story will show you that sometimes the people closest to us are the ones who understand us the least. Morrison and Associates occupied the entire 47th floor of the Columbia Center, their conference room offering a panoramic view of Elliott Bay. At 9 a.m. sharp, I entered to find 47 family members already assembled, their voices creating a low hum of medical terminology and stock predictions. Marcus stood at the head of the table, every inch the commanding surgeon. "You don't need to be here, Alana. Mom invited me." I held up her letter. "Mom was heavily medicated," Victoria interjected from her seat at Marcus's right hand. "Not exactly sound of mind. Morphine doesn't make you forget your children." I took the only empty seat, at the far end, naturally. Marcus's jaw tightened. "What could you possibly contribute to a discussion about medical assets?" "I'm here to listen." "Then listen from outside," he said. "This is for stakeholders only." "I'm family." "Family?" Marcus laughed, sharp and cold. "For 15 years, what have you contributed? What surgeries have you performed? What lives have you saved? What medical journals have published your research?" The room fell silent, 47 pairs of eyes turning to watch my humiliation. This was Marcus's operating room, and he was about to perform a public excision. "You're right," I said quietly. "I haven't saved lives in operating rooms." "Exactly." Victoria's smile could have frozen Seattle Bay. "So why embarrass yourself?" James Morrison cleared his throat from his position by the door. "Perhaps we should begin?" Mrs. Hodges was quite specific about all named parties being present. Marcus waved dismissively. "Fine. Let her watch her siblings inherit what she could never earn." Morrison's eyes met mine briefly, and I caught something unexpected. Anticipation. The next 30 minutes were a masterclass in coordinated humiliation. As Morrison began reviewing the estate's medical assets, the family formed a physical wall of rejection around me. Cousin Jennifer, the pediatric surgeon I'd helped get into Johns Hopkins with my recommendation letter, moved her chair to block my view of the presentation. "Maybe you should check your emails," she whispered. "This is pretty complex medical finance stuff." Uncle Robert, whose son I'd tutored through calculus, stood up and pointedly closed the blinds behind me. "The glare must be bothering those of us doing important work," he announced, leaving me in shadow while the rest of the room remained bright. When Morrison mentioned the hospital's new wing, Victoria interrupted. "That's the Marcus Hodges Cardiac Center, named after a real contributor to medicine." She looked directly at me. "Some of us build legacies, others just exist." 47 backs turned toward me in perfect synchronization, like a choreographed medical ballet. They formed an impenetrable wall of white coats and superiority, leaving me alone at my end of the table. The message was clear. You don't belong here. I pulled out my phone, not to check emails but to record. The Securities and Exchange Commission would be very interested in some of the merger discussions Marcus was having in what he thought was a private family meeting. Morrison watched it all while making notes in his leather portfolio. When Marcus bragged about the international opportunity he'd secured, Morrison's pen moved faster. When Victoria mentioned restructuring redundancies, he underlined something twice. Before we continue, Morrison said suddenly, I should note that Mrs. Eleanor Hodges included a supplemental document to be read after the primary estate division. Marcus froze mid-gesture. What supplemental document? Marcus's composure cracked like surgical gloves stretched too tight. He strode down the conference table toward me, each step echoing against the marble floor. Let's settle this privately, he said, pulling out his personal checkbook. $50,000. Cash. Today. You leave now and never attend another family business meeting. The room held its breath. This was Marcus's signature move, buying problems away before they became complications. That's generous, I said, not reaching for the check he'd already started writing. More than generous, Victoria added, appearing at his shoulder. It's $50,000 more than you deserve. Take it and maintain some dignity. Or stay, Marcus continued, and get nothing. You're not in Mom's will as a beneficiary of any medical assets. Morrison can confirm that, can't you? Morrison nodded carefully. The medical assets are specifically designated, yes. See? Marcus tore off the check with a flourish. 50,000 or zero. Choose wisely, little sister. Cousin Jennifer laughed from her position in the wall of backs. That's probably more than she makes in a year doing… What is it? Social media? I stood up slowly, meeting Marcus's eyes. I'm staying. His face flushed red, the same color it turned during his legendary operating room tantrums. You stupid, stubborn… Mr. Hodges, Morrison interrupted, his voice cutting through Marcus's building rage. Perhaps we should discuss the supplemental documentation now. It concerns certain assets that aren't medical in nature. Victoria's eyes narrowed. What kind of assets? Morrison pulled out a sealed envelope marked with Chase Private Banking's logo. Assets that have been held in trust since 2009. Assets that, technically, already have a designated owner. Marcus's check fluttered to the table. Forgotten. What the hell are you talking about? My phone buzzed with an incoming call, the screen lighting up with David Campbell, CEO Tech Venture Partners. The timing wasn't coincidental. David had been one of the 5 names in Mom's letter. I need to take this, I said, answering on speaker. Hi, David. Alana, perfect timing. The board just approved the IPO filing. We need our strategic advisor's signature by noon. Can you swing by? The valuation came in at $2.3 billion, largely thanks to your healthcare AI integration strategy. Marcus scoffed loud enough for David to hear. Is this a joke? Some startup theatrics? I'm sorry. Who is that? David's voice sharpened. Alana, are you in a meeting? Family estate planning, I replied. I'm with my brother, Dr. Marcus Hodges. The Marcus Hodges who's been pushing the Sinopharm merger that would destroy community healthcare access across Washington? That Marcus Hodges? The room went silent. Even through speakerphone, David's disdain was palpable. Marcus's face darkened. How does he… Alana's been advising us on healthcare sector disruptions, David continued. She predicted your merger attempt 6 months ago, called it predictable medical establishment greed. Her counter-strategy is why 3 major tech companies are about to enter the Seattle healthcare market. By the way, Alana, the board approved your advisory shares, another $5 million vested immediately. Victoria grabbed the table edge. $5 million? Sorry, David, I'll call you back, I said, ending the call. Marcus laughed, but it sounded forced. Tech bubble money. It'll evaporate in a year. Morrison cleared his throat. Speaking of money that won't evaporate, shall we discuss the trust fund Eleanor established in 2009? The temperature in this room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Morrison opened the sealed envelope with surgical precision, pulling out a document bearing Chase Private Banking's gold seal. The paper itself seemed to command attention, thick, official, undeniable. Mrs. Eleanor Hodges established certain financial arrangements that she chose not to disclose to the family, Morrison began, his voice taking on the gravity of a judge reading a verdict. These arrangements predate most of the medical acquisitions you've been discussing. Marcus stepped forward. What arrangements? I'm the executor of her estate. I should know about any. You're the executor of her medical estate, Morrison corrected. This is something different entirely. Victoria pulled out her phone, frantically typing. I'm calling our lawyers. This sounds like completely legal and filed with the SEC in 2009, Morrison continued. Mrs. Hodges was quite thorough. She established a trust, transferred assets, and made certain preparations for today. What kind of preparations? Uncle Robert demanded from his position among the 47. Morrison looked directly at me. The kind that ensure the right person leads Hodges Medical Group into the future. Mrs. Hodges believed that medicine needed to evolve, that technology and healthcare would merge, and that someone with feet in both worlds would be essential. That's ridiculous, Marcus spat. I've been groomed for leadership since you were 12, Morrison finished. Yes, Mrs. Hodges mentioned that. She also mentioned that in 15 years of preparation, you never once asked about her vision for the future. You assumed you knew it. He pulled out another document. This will be fully revealed at the shareholders' meeting on March 15th, as per Mrs. Hodges' explicit instructions. The Fairmont Olympic Hotel, 2 p.m. I trust you'll all be there? Marcus's hands clenched into fists. What are you hiding? Nothing. I'm simply following Eleanor's timeline. March 15th arrived with Seattle's typical gray drizzle, but inside the Fairmont Olympic Hotel's grand ballroom, the atmosphere was electric. 300 attendees filled the space: shareholders, medical journal reporters, representatives from Reuters and Bloomberg, and every significant healthcare executive in the Pacific Northwest. Marcus had orchestrated this meeting as his coronation. Banners reading Hodges Medical Group, the future of healthcare, flanked a stage where he stood in his best Italian suit, a wireless mic clipped to his lapel like a medal of honor. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, his voice carrying the authority of countless surgical victories. The Hodges family has served Seattle's medical needs for 3 generations. My grandfather started with 1 clinic, my mother expanded to 12 facilities, and today, under my leadership, we stand ready for global expansion. The audience applauded. I sat in the back row, manila folder in my lap, watching Marcus paint his vision of medical dynasty. The Hodges family, he continued, gesturing to Victoria beside him, consists of dedicated medical professionals. My sister Victoria, who turned Cascade Private Hospital profitable. Myself, with over 2,000 successful cardiac surgeries. We embody medical excellence. He paused, his eyes finding me in the crowd. Of course, not everyone in the family followed our calling. Some chose easier paths, less meaningful pursuits. But we don't let one bad apple spoil the barrel of our medical heritage. Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. The Bloomberg reporter was already typing on her phone. Which is why, Marcus announced, we're implementing new bylaws. Only medical professionals will hold voting shares in Hodges Medical Group going forward. We must preserve the purity of our mission. I stood up. 300 heads turned as I walked toward the stage, my heels clicking against marble. Victoria took the microphone as I approached the stage, her smile sharp enough to perform surgery. Before any interruptions, let me present our 5-year projection under the new structure. The presentation screen lit up with charts showing the systematic removal of non-medical shareholders, a category with only 1 member, me. The audience shifted uncomfortably, recognizing a public execution when they saw one. As you can see, Victoria continued, her laser pointer circling my name on the chart, removing unqualified influences will streamline decision-making and ensure medical integrity. Some people think watching Grey's Anatomy makes them healthcare experts. The joke landed poorly. A few nervous chuckles died quickly when they saw my face remain calm. Marcus reclaimed the mic. "We're not being cruel. We're being practical. Would you want someone who's never held a scalpel making decisions about surgical protocols? Someone whose biggest achievement is making computers talk to each other?" The Reuters reporter raised her hand. "Mr. Hodges, are you referring to a specific family member?" "I'm referring to maintaining standards," Marcus replied smoothly. "Excellence demands exclusivity." I reached the stage steps. Security moved to block me, but Morrison appeared from the side entrance, followed by David Campbell and 3 other individuals I recognized from Mom's list. "I believe Ms. Hodges has something to contribute," Morrison announced, his voice carrying legal authority that made security step aside. The audience leaned forward. Phones appeared, ready to record whatever drama was about to unfold. The Bloomberg reporter was already live tweeting, "Major disruption at Hodges Medical shareholders meeting, family dispute going public." Victoria's composure cracked slightly. "This is a private meeting." "A shareholders meeting," I corrected, stepping onto the stage. "And I have an announcement about shareholdings." I stood at the podium, 300 pairs of eyes locked on me. Marcus and Victoria flanked me like disapproving bookends, their body language screaming contempt. The Bloomberg reporter had her phone raised, live streaming to thousands. "I have documentation regarding Hodges Medical Group ownership," I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Marcus laughed into his still hot mic. "Everyone, my sister thinks she has documentation. What's next, Alana? Did you buy a share on Robinhood?" The audience tittered. Someone whispered, "This is embarrassing." I opened my manila folder and pulled out the first document. "This is a certificate of ownership filed with the SEC in 2009, notarized by Morrison and Associates, and validated by Chase Private Banking." Victoria stepped forward. "That's impossible. I've seen all ownership records." "You've seen the public records," Morrison interrupted from his position by the stage. "Mrs. Eleanor Hodges maintained private trusts that weren't required to be disclosed until activated." "Activated?" Marcus's confidence wavered. "What do you mean, activated?" I held up the certificate where everyone could see the gold seal, the official stamps, the undeniable legitimacy. "As of today, I own 35% of Hodges Medical Group." Silence. Complete, absolute silence. Then Marcus laughed. Forced, desperate. "That's impossible. Mom's shares were split between the children she told you about," I said. "But Mom played a longer game. She transferred shares to a blind trust in my name when I was 19, the year I chose Stanford over medical school. The year you all wrote me off." David Campbell stepped forward. "I can verify this. We've been working with Ms. Hodges knowing she was the majority shareholder. It's why Tech Venture Partners chose her as our healthcare strategy advisor." The room exploded. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. The impossible had happened. This is the moment everything changes. If you want to see how Marcus reacts to losing control of his empire, hit that like button right now. What do you think will happen next? Drop your predictions in the comments, and remember to share this with anyone who's ever been underestimated by their family. Morrison stepped onto the stage carrying a leather portfolio, his presence commanding immediate attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm James Morrison, estate attorney for Eleanor Hodges. I can confirm that Ms. Alana Hodges is indeed the largest individual shareholder of Hodges Medical Group." He pulled out a stack of documents, each one bearing official seals. "Trust Fund Number TMH 2009-8847, established at Chase Private Banking. Initial transfer of 15% ownership in 2009, with additional transfers in 2011, 2015, and 2019, totaling 35% of all outstanding shares." The math was simple and devastating. Marcus owned 20%. Victoria owned 12%. The remaining family members and institutional investors held 33%. I controlled the company. "This is fraud," Marcus shouted. his surgical composure completely shattered. Mom would never. Your mother was quite specific, Morrison continued, projecting a document onto the screen. Quote, "My daughter Alana sees the future while my other children cling to the past. Healthcare isn't just about surgery anymore. It's about systems, data, and accessibility. She understands this. They don't." Gasps rippled through the audience. The Reuters reporter was typing furiously. Breaking. Tech executive revealed as majority owner of 340 Mala's medical group in dramatic family coup. Victoria grabbed the microphone. Even if this is real, she knows nothing about medicine. She can't. Can't what? I asked calmly. Can't stop you from selling our community hospitals to Sinopharm for a fraction of their value? Can't prevent Marcus from collecting his $50 million commission while destroying Mom's charity programs? Marcus's face went white. How do you know about... Because, unlike you, I actually read the board minutes, all of them, including the ones you thought were private. The audience was in chaos. This wasn't just a family dispute anymore, it was a corporate revolution playing out in real time. David Campbell commanded the stage with the confidence of someone who'd pitched to venture capitalists, and won. Since we're discussing qualifications, let me share something about Alana Hodges that her family seems to have missed. He pulled up his phone, projecting an email onto the main screen. This is from our board of directors at Tech Venture Partners. Ms. Hodges served as our strategic healthcare advisor for our $2.3 billion IPO, the largest healthcare technology offering in Pacific Northwest history. The email was clear. Alana Hodges' strategic vision increased our valuation by 40%. Her healthcare AI protocols are being adopted by 16 major hospital systems. Goldman Sachs called her the architect of modern healthcare integration. David continued, his voice cutting through the stunned silence. She turned down a $5 million bonus to be here today. Google, Apple, and Amazon have all tried to poach her with seven-figure packages. She refused them all to stay in Seattle, trying to save her family's company from the inside. That's tech money, not real, Marcus started. Real enough that her strategies saved 12 rural hospitals from closure last year, David interrupted. Her diagnostic algorithms have identified rare diseases in over 10,000 patients who would have died waiting for traditional diagnosis. How many lives have your surgeries saved, Dr. Hodges? 2,000? She saved 5 times that with code. The Bloomberg reporter was on her feet. Mr. Campbell, are you saying Ms. Hodges has been running a shadow healthcare operation? I'm saying she's been building the future while her family was protecting the past, David replied. The only reason Hodges Medical Group hasn't been acquired by a tech giant already is because Alana convinced us to wait. She wanted to preserve her mother's legacy. Victoria sank into a chair, the reality finally hitting her. I pulled out Mom's final letter, my hands steady despite the emotion threatening to overwhelm me. Before we vote on anything, I think the shareholders should hear Eleanor Hodges' actual vision. The room fell silent as I read. To the shareholders of Hodges Medical Group, if you're hearing this, then my daughter Alana has finally taken her rightful place. For 15 years, I watched my medical children dismiss her because she chose circuits over surgery. They never understood that she wasn't abandoning medicine, she was evolving it. While Marcus performed his surgeries, Alana designed systems that could prevent the need for surgery altogether. While Victoria managed one hospital, Alana created platforms that could manage hundreds. They saved lives in operating rooms. She saved lives at scale. I transferred 35% ownership to Alana not as favoritism, but as strategy. Healthcare's future isn't in scalpels, it's in systems. It's not in individual brilliance, it's in accessible intelligence. Marcus and Victoria are excellent at what medicine was. Alana understands what medicine must become. The charity programs, the free clinics, the community outreach. These weren't tax write-offs. They were the soul of our mission. Any merger that threatens them betrays everything we built. Any leadership that prioritizes profit over patients has forgotten our purpose. Alana never sought your approval because she didn't need it. She had mine. And now, She has the power to ensure Hodges Medical Group serves the future, not just the past. Trust her vision. I did. Eleanor Hodges. When I finished reading, several board members were wiping their eyes. The Reuters reporter had stopped typing, just staring. Even Marcus stood frozen, Mom's words hanging in the air like a verdict. Motion to cancel the Sinopharm merger, I said quietly. All in favor? Motion to terminate the Sinopharm merger agreement, I repeated, my voice carrying across the silent ballroom. As majority shareholder, I call for an immediate vote. Marcus found his voice. You can't just... According to corporate bylaws, any shareholder with more than 30% can call an emergency vote, Morrison interjected. Ms. Hodges owns 35%. The board members exchanged glances. Dr. Samuel Roberts, the independent director Mom had named in her letter, stood first. I second the motion. The Sinopharm deal undervalues our assets by 47%. I've been saying this for months, but Marcus wouldn't listen. All in favor? I asked. Hands rose slowly at first, then in a wave. My 35%. Roberts's 8%. 3 institutional investors holding 15% combined. Even some family members, freed from Marcus's influence, raised their hands. Motion carries with 58% approval, Morrison announced. The Sinopharm merger is terminated. Marcus's face cycled through red to purple. That's $50 million in commission. That you were taking while selling out Mom's legacy, I finished. The SEC filing you signed has a clawback provision. Any terminated merger means you personally owe the company $3 million in already spent preparatory costs. Victoria gasped. Marcus, you said there was no risk. There wasn't, he sputtered. Until I exercised my legal rights as majority shareholder. I pulled up another document on my phone. Speaking of which, motion to remove Marcus Hodges as CEO for breach of fiduciary duty. The Sinopharm negotiations violated 3 board resolutions about maintaining charitable operations. The vote was faster this time. 62% in favor. Motion carries, Morrison announced. Dr. Marcus Hodges is removed as CEO effective immediately. The Bloomberg reporter's headline was already live. Family coup. Tech sister overthrows medical dynasty in boardroom bloodbath. The boardroom erupted as the reality sank in. Marcus stood frozen at the podium, his carefully constructed world crumbling in real time. The board members were already reorganizing, gravitating toward the new power structure. Dr. Roberts took the microphone. We need interim leadership immediately. I nominate Alana Hodges as strategic board chair. Seconded, called Margaret Chen from Chase Private Banking. We've monitored Ms. Hodges' strategic decisions for 15 years. She's ready. She's not even a doctor, Victoria protested weakly. Neither was Steve Jobs, but he revolutionized healthcare technology, Roberts replied. The position of strategic board chair doesn't require medical credentials, it requires vision. Motion to vote? The result was overwhelming, 71% in favor. Even some family members who'd ignored me for years raised their hands, suddenly seeing which way the wind was blowing. Additionally, I said, taking control of the meeting, Victoria will maintain her operational role at Cascade Private Hospital, but she'll report to the board, not to the CEO. Any objections? Victoria looked like she wanted to object, but saw the futility. No, she whispered. As for the new CEO position, I continued, we'll conduct a national search. But I can tell you now, it won't be someone who values profit over patience or connections over competence. The Reuters reporter raised her hand. Ms. Hodges, what's your immediate priority? Implementing the Eleanor Hodges Community Care Initiative, a $30 million investment in free clinics and AI-assisted diagnostics for underserved communities. It's what my mother wanted, and it's what Seattle needs. Applause broke out spontaneously, not from my family, they stood in stunned silence, but from the institutional investors, the medical professionals who'd been silenced by Marcus's ego, and the reporters who recognized they were witnessing history. Marcus finally spoke, his voice hollow. "You planned this." After the meeting dissolved into chaos, reporters rushing to file stories, board members making calls, family members huddling in shocked clusters, Marcus cornered me in the marble hallway outside the ballroom. "You planned this," he repeated, his surgeon's hands clenched into fists. "This whole thing was calculated." "I didn't plan anything," I replied calmly. "Mom did. I just executed her vision." Victoria joined us, her designer heels clicking on marble. "How long have you known about the shares?" "Since the day she died. But you two have been dismissing me for 15 years. Why would that change if you knew I had power?" "We're family," Marcus said, as if that word meant something now. "You could have told us. Like you told me about the Sinopharm deal? Like you included me in board meetings? Like you acknowledged my contributions to the company's digital infrastructure?" I pulled out my phone, showing them a folder of emails. 500 emails over 5 years, begging to be included, to contribute, to help. You responded to exactly 0. Victoria's face crumbled slightly. We thought you were happy in tech." I was. I am. But I also wanted to be part of our family's legacy. You made it clear that only medical degrees counted. So I built my own legacy. And Mom saw it even if you didn't. Marcus tried one last manipulation. "The family will never accept you as—" "The family just voted me in with 71% approval." I cut him off. "They accept success, Marcus. They always have. You taught me that." I turned to leave, then paused. "Your things will be packed and sent to your home. Don't come to the executive floor. Security has already been notified." Their silence followed me down the hall. Within 48 hours, the story exploded across financial and medical media. Forbes ran a feature. "The $50 million mistake, how arrogance cost a CEO everything." The article detailed how dismissing a sister's expertise led to Marcus losing not just the CEO position, but also 3 other board positions as news of his failed merger spread. The stock market responded immediately. Hodges Medical Group shares jumped 18% in 2 days, adding $61 million in market value. CNBC called it the most dramatic family business takeover since the Murdochs, featuring a split screen of Marcus's dismissive quotes from the meeting against my calm revelation of majority ownership. Bloomberg's in-depth analysis was brutal. Marcus Hodges spent 15 years building a medical empire on nepotism and ego. It took his sister 15 minutes to dismantle it with facts and legal documents. 5 acquisition offers landed on my desk within a week, all from major healthcare technology companies sensing opportunity. The highest came from Amazon Healthcare, $520 million for the entire operation. I rejected them all with a simple statement. Hodges Medical Group is not for sale. We're just getting started. The medical community's response was mixed, but telling. The American Medical Association stayed diplomatically silent, but the Healthcare Innovation Council invited me to keynote their annual conference. Young doctors and medical students flooded my LinkedIn with messages, excited about a future where technology and medicine truly merged. Marcus, meanwhile, faced a different media storm. The state medical board announced an investigation into his merger negotiations, specifically whether he'd prioritized personal gain over patient welfare. 3 malpractice suits that had been quietly settled suddenly resurfaced, their plaintiffs emboldened by his fall from power. The numbers told the story. In 2 weeks, Marcus went from 5 board positions to 0, from a $50 million windfall to a $3 million debt. My phone became a museum of family hypocrisy. Within 72 hours of the meeting, all 47 family members who'd ignored me for 15 years suddenly remembered my existence. Cousin Jennifer, who'd blocked my view at the estate meeting, texted, "Always knew you were special. Let's grab coffee and discuss opportunities at the pediatric center." I screenshot it next to her message from 2 years ago. "Stop bothering me with your computer stuff." Uncle Robert sent a formal email proposing a strategic family partnership and mentioning his always recognized potential in me. This from the man who'd literally turned his back on me 3 months earlier. I forwarded it to my assistant with one word: decline. The most pathetic attempt came from Marcus's wife, Patricia, who'd never spoken to me directly in 20 years. She called crying about their mortgage, their kids' private school tuition, how Marcus was suffering. I reminded her of the Christmas dinner where she'd loudly asked if I could even afford to contribute to the family gift exchange. Only 2 cousins reached out with genuine congratulations: Sarah, a nurse who'd always been kind despite family pressure, and Michael, a medical student who'd secretly asked me for career advice. They were the only family members I responded to. I created a folder labeled Family Revisionist History and filed every message. My lawyer suggested keeping them for potential future legal issues, but I had a different purpose. They were reminders of why boundaries exist. The mass blocking took 5 minutes. 45 family members, gone from my phone, email, and social media. Sarah and Michael remained. My real family, David Campbell, my team at work, the mentors who'd actually supported me, they were the ones celebrating with me. Amazing how 35% ownership improves people's memory, I told Morrison. He just smiled. The professional dominoes fell fast and hard. Marcus's carefully constructed medical empire collapsed in a cascade of consequences that played out in public view. First came the board positions. Within 2 weeks, Marcus was removed from the boards of Seattle Presbyterian Cascade Medical Ventures and Northwest Surgical Associates. The official reasons varied: strategic restructuring, new directions, fresh perspectives, but everyone knew the truth. His failed $50 million Sinopharm deal had exposed him as someone who'd sell out healthcare for personal gain. Victoria's situation was more complex. An internal audit I'd ordered revealed $2.3 million in questionable allocations at her hospital, funds diverted from charity care to executive bonuses. She wasn't fired, but she accepted a demotion to deputy director rather than face a forensic accounting investigation. Her Harvard guest lecture was quietly canceled. The financial hit was severe. Marcus had already spent $8 million of his expected Sinopharm commission on a new Bellevue mansion. With the deal dead and his CEO salary gone, he was forced to list his current penthouse at a $2 million loss. The Seattle Times ran a photo of the for sale sign with the headline, "How the Mighty Fall." His medical practice suffered too. 3 partners at his surgical group formally requested he take a sabbatical after patients started requesting different surgeons. "I don't want someone who'd sell out healthcare operating on my heart," one patient told the media. The final blow came from the IRS. The failed merger triggered a review of Marcus's past tax filings, specifically deductions he'd claimed for medical research that looked suspiciously like family vacations. He now faced a $4.7 million tax bill with penalties. In 14 days, Marcus went from king of Seattle medicine to a cautionary tale about hubris, greed, and the danger of underestimating family members. While Marcus's world crumbled, mine expanded in ways I'd never imagined. The numbers told a story of vindication that no family dismissal could erase. My net worth jumped from $2 million to $78 million once the market recognized Hodges Medical Group's true value under new leadership. The 35% stake Mom had hidden for 15 years was now worth more than Marcus and Victoria's combined assets had ever been. 3 TED Talk invitations arrived within a month. I accepted one. When Family Rejects Your Future, Building Healthcare's Tomorrow, Despite Yesterday's Doubts. It would eventually reach 12 million views. Harvard Business School announced they were writing a case study about the takeover titled The Hodges Reversal: When Outsiders Become Ultimate Insiders. They interviewed me for 6 hours, fascinated by Mom's long-term strategy and my patient execution. But the achievement that mattered most was breaking ground on the Eleanor Hodges Community Care Center, a state-of-the-art facility combining free healthcare with AI diagnostics. The ceremony drew hundreds, including the governor, who called it the future of accessible medicine. I held Mom's photo as I turned the first shovel of dirt. The second quarter results under my leadership spoke volumes: 32% revenue increase, 50% reduction in patient complaints, 100% retention of charity programs. The same family members who'd mocked my computer skills now watched those skills transform a stagnant medical empire into a healthcare innovation leader. David Campbell sent me a congratulations card with one line: "Your mother saw what they couldn't. That healing isn't just about medicine, it's about systems that make medicine accessible to all." I framed it next to my MBA, my tech awards, and a photo of Mom. The wall that once felt empty with achievements my family didn't value now told the complete story. 6 months after the takeover, Marcus requested a meeting through his lawyer. I agreed, but on my terms. Morrison's office, lawyers present, recorded for legal protection, and limited to 30 minutes. Marcus arrived looking diminished, his designer suit replaced with off-the-rack, his surgeon swagger reduced to careful steps. He sat across the conference table like a defendant, not the brother who once ruled our family. "I need to return to the company," he began. "Not as CEO, just as a surgeon. I have skills." "You have skills," I agreed. "But Hodges Medical Group doesn't need them. Seattle has many hospitals. Apply there." "They won't hire me. You know that." "I know that's a consequence of your choices, not mine." Victoria, who'd joined virtually, tried emotional manipulation. "We're family, Alana. Doesn't that mean anything?" "It means everything," I replied. "Which is why your treatment of me for 15 years has established exactly what our relationship is. You taught me that family is conditional on medical degrees and traditional success. I'm simply applying your rules." "We were wrong," Marcus started. "Yes, you were, and being wrong has consequences." I slid a document across the table. "These are the terms for any future interaction. Professional communication only, through assistants or lawyers. No family events where business might be discussed. No requests for recommendations, interventions, or special treatment. No attempts to leverage our biological relationship for professional gain." "This is cruel," Victoria whispered. "This is boundaries," I corrected. "Something I should have established years ago. You're not entitled to my success just because we share DNA. You made that clear when you felt I had nothing to offer. The rule hasn't changed just because the positions have." Morrison ended the meeting exactly at 30 minutes. Marcus left without another word. The second quarter under my strategic leadership proved that competence trumps credentials. Hodges Medical Group posted its best financial results in its 70-year history. Revenue up 32%, patient satisfaction at 94%, and operational costs down 18% through AI-driven efficiency improvements. The Eleanor Hodges Community Care Center treated its first 1,000 patients for free, with our diagnostic AI catching 17 cases of rare diseases that traditional screening had missed. Local news called it revolutionary healthcare democracy. I called it Mom's vision finally realized. Marcus formally requested reinstatement twice more, both times rejected by the board without my input needed. His reputation in Seattle medical circles was toxic. The surgeon who tried to sell out community healthcare for personal gain. He eventually took a position in Portland, a demotion that required him to sell his remaining Seattle properties. Victoria adapted better, accepting her reduced role with quiet dignity. She focused on operational excellence at her single hospital, no longer trying to empire build. In our only direct interaction, she admitted, "You were right. I was so focused on managing one hospital that I never saw the bigger picture Mom saw in you." The new CEO we hired, Dr. James Park, a Korean-American physician with both medical and technology degrees, represented everything the old guard feared: diversity, innovation, and patient-first priorities. Marcus would have hated him. Mom would have loved him. Our third quarter projections showed continued growth, with 3 more community care centers planned. The board unanimously approved my strategic plan for AI-integrated healthcare across all facilities. The same boardroom where I'd been humiliated now treated my presentations with the respect they'd always deserved. Best quarter in 70 years, Dr. Roberts announced at the board meeting, achieved when we finally let the right person lead, regardless of their degree. I started therapy 2 months after the takeover, not because I was struggling, but because I wanted to process 15 years of family trauma in a healthy way. Dr. Martinez, recommended by David Campbell, specialized in family dynamics and professional identity. "You spent so long fighting for their approval," she observed during our 6th session. "How does it feel to realize you never needed it?" "Free," I answered immediately, and angry that it took Mom dying for me to see it. The anger faded with time, replaced by something more valuable: peace. I built my chosen family carefully. David Campbell became the mentor Marcus never was. My team at work celebrated my victories without jealousy, and new friends in the tech health space understood my vision without requiring explanation. I started mentoring young women in technology, especially those from medical families who didn't understand their career choices. My monthly Breaking the Stethoscope Ceiling workshops drew hundreds of attendees. One young woman, crying after my talk, said, "My parents are both doctors. They call my computer science degree a waste. You just showed me it's not." Sunday mornings, I visited Mom's grave at Lakeview Cemetery. The elaborate Hodges family plot had spaces for everyone except, apparently, the non-medical daughter. I'd bought my own plot nearby, close enough to visit Mom, far enough to maintain boundaries even in death. "I did it, Mom," I told her headstone after the fourth quarter results came in. "Not the way you planned, maybe, but the way it needed to happen. The company is thriving. Your charity vision is alive, and I finally understand what you tried to teach me, that my worth was never dependent on their validation." A year ago, I'd stood alone at her deathbed. Now I stood alone by choice, finally understanding the difference between loneliness and solitude. Looking back now, I realize Mom's greatest gift wasn't the 35% ownership or the $12 million trust fund. It was teaching me, through her death and final letter, that family isn't about blood. It's about who sees your value when you're not performing for them. For 15 years, I bent myself into knots, trying to earn a place at a table that was never built to include me. I brought my expertise, my connections, my unpaid labor, hoping that eventually, achievement would translate to acceptance. It never did. Success without a stethoscope was invisible in the Hodges family. But here's what I learned. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time, not the 15th. Marcus and Victoria didn't suddenly become dismissive when Mom died. They'd always been that way. I just kept hoping their love for me would eventually outweigh their love for status. The boundaries I set weren't about punishment or revenge. They were about finally accepting that some relationships are transactional, and when you have nothing they want, you become nothing to them. The moment I had something they needed, power, money, influence, suddenly I was family again. That's not love. That's opportunism. Your worth isn't determined by people who only see your value when it benefits them. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop trying to earn love that should be freely given. Set your boundaries not from anger, but from clarity. Build your chosen family from those who celebrated you before you had power, not those who remembered you after. Success isn't about proving wrong those who doubted you. It's about finally believing those who never did, including yourself. The Hodges Medical Group is thriving, Mom's vision is realized, and I'm at peace with being the family outlier who became the family leader. Sometimes that's exactly how the story should end. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been the black sheep who became the success story, I want to hear from you. Type boundaries in the comments if you've had to set limits with family who only valued you when you had something they wanted. Subscribe for more stories about women who refused to shrink themselves for others' comfort. And remember, your worth was never up for debate. Thank you for watching.